There is a small country in the mountains of Central Asia where a single unbroken eyebrow is considered the mark of true beauty. The thicker it grows, the darker it runs, the more beautiful a woman is said to be. It was called a mystical Persian blank beauty. The more you looked, the more captivated you became. It is also a place where a young woman, something, can be pulled off the road on her way home from school and wake up as someone's wife. Where a marriage can end with 3 words on a glowing phone screen. Where 1 man in every 7 has vanished across a border to find work. A country blank that is almost entirely Muslim, but the government opposed the wearing of headscarves, requiring men to shave their beards. This is the poorest region of the former Soviet Union. This is Tajikistan. Tajikistan is the smallest country in Central Asia, landlocked, wedged between Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and China. 11 million people live here. More than 90% of it is mountains and flat farmable ground, is so rare it feels almost like a rumor. Long before the borders, this was the eastern edge of the Persian world. It is the homeland of Rudaki, the father of Persian poetry, who wrote here in the 9th century, and of the Saman kings, whose name the country still spends every day. Its money is called the simony. In one cut-off valley called Yaghnab, a few thousand people still speak a direct descendant of Sogdian, the trading tongue of the old Silk Road. It is the last place on earth. You can still hear it. And in the Zirafshan Valley stand the ruins of Sarizm, a proto-city about 5,000 years old, the oldest known town in Central Asia. It traded from the Aral Sea to the edge of India, while most of the world was still finding its feet. You can feel that long memory in ordinary life. Women wear the kurta, a long dress with wide embroidered sleeves. Men wear the chapan robe and a small square cap called a tupi. And still daily life is plain and hard. Houses sit low and thick against the cold. In many villages, the electricity comes on for only a few hours a day. Even the capital keeps a small joke in its name. Dushanbe means Monday, after the market that once gathered here every Monday. Before we go any deeper, I'm curious how far this is traveling. Drop your city or country in the comments. I read them all. Now look closer at those faces, because beauty here does not follow the rules. You know, across much of Tajikistan, a natural unibrow, a single brow that meets in the middle, is the sign of beauty and of purity. The fuller and darker it grows, the more beautiful a woman is thought to be. Why? Because a strong, untouched brow reads as health and innocence here, the exact opposite of the plucked. A girl who wasn't born with one makes her own. She buys USMA, a leafy green herb sold in any market for a few cents, crushes it into a dark paste, and paints the line between her brows by hand. The beauty itself is Persian and quiet. Pale skin, high color, dark eyes that travelers say hold you longer the more you look. But it carries a hard fact underneath. In this country, a woman can find it painfully difficult to marry at all. The men are missing, thinned out by war and by poverty. So, a custom the law calls a crime has quietly returned. A man may take a second or a third wife joined only by a religious rite the state never signs. She gets the marriage. She does not get the protection. And there is something colder waiting behind these faces. Because here, a marriage does not always begin with a question. Sometimes it begins the moment a girl is pulled off the road on her way home. If a story like this deserves more eyes, tap the hype button below. It only lasts a few seconds, but it helps this blank reach people who would never otherwise find it. We would be grateful. It is called bride kidnapping, and it is real. A young woman walking home from school, picking cotton, crossing a park, is surrounded by a group of men, pushed into a car, and taken to a stranger's house to be made his wife. It happens, but it matters to say exactly what this is and what it is not. This is no ancient Tajik soul custom. It was borrowed fairly recently from the neighbors, the Kyrgyz and the Kazakhs, and most Tajiks are ashamed of it. A girl taken this way is seen to carry shame for everyone, and the whole village knows it. The scale is smaller than the rumor. The United Nations counted only about 100 reported cases in a recent year, again not more than 1,000 just across the border in Kyrgyzstan, but almost no one reports it. So the real number sits somewhere in the dark above that. And when blank It is reported Tajik law does treat it as abduction, so why has it crept back at all? Follow the money. A proper wedding here, son, has grown crushingly expensive. The gifts, the feast, the guests, all counted. For a man who cannot pay, stealing a wife is cheaper than marrying one. That is the cold logic underneath it. A country poor enough that some men decide a woman is easier to take than to court. If that makes you angry, hold on to the feeling, because being taken is only one strange way a marriage begins here. It is not even the strangest way one can end. Picture a village wife high in the mountains. Her husband has been gone for years, working in Russia. One ordinary afternoon, her phone lights up, and on the screen sit 3 words: talaq, talaq, talaq. In one reading of Islamic tradition, saying the word for divorce 3 times ends a marriage. Some men decided that typing YNILL, it counted the same as speaking it. So they wrote it from a construction hash site in Moscow and pressed send. The practice spread fastest among migrant workers, and far enough that the state moved to stop it. Tajikistan outlawed divorce by text back in 2011, and its religious authorities ruled it broke Islamic law, which demands the words be spoken in front of the wife. But the ban only uncovered a deeper trap. Most couples here marry with the Niko, the religious ceremony, and never register it with the state. So when the message arrives, the woman finds something worse than divorce. In the eyes of the law, she was never married at all. No property, no support, nothing she can claim. And even the women who did register can wait years because a court cannot finish a divorce it cannot deliver. And the husband is somewhere in Russia, unreachable, a name without an address. The same glowing screen carries the money that keeps the family alive and the message that ends it. So before we ask how a phone can close a marriage, we have to answer a stranger question first. Where did all the men go? They went north. Nearly 1 million Tajiks, about 1 citizen in every 7, almost all of them men between 18 and 60, live on seasonal work abroad, most of it in Russia. By the middle of 2024, there were around 1.22 million Tajiks inside Russia, more than 1/10 of the whole nation, laying bricks and hauling freight through a winter far colder than home. They go because there is almost nothing to earn at home, and because a work visa to America or Western Europe is nearly impossible for a Tajik to get, while Russia leaves the door open. Necessity beats homesickness every single time. The money they send back is not extra, it is the bloodstream. In 2024, those remittances were worth close to half of the country's entire economy. The highest such share of any nation on Earth, around $1.8 billion carried home in 1 year. Most of it as numbers moving between phones. Think about what that means on a single street. Picture 1 in every 7 people you pass gone, and the rest living on half of what those people wire back. So the whole future of a family shrinks to a dot figure glowing on a small screen once a month. When it arrives, they eat and they build. When it stops, so does everything. And with the men gone, someone has to hold the country together. Walk into any village, and you see exactly who you see, the women in the countryside. Close to 9 of every 10 people who leave are men. So it is the women who stay and who carry a country on their backs. They plow the fields, pick the cotton, and clean the irrigation canals by hand. This was never meant to be the work of one pair of hands, and they do it while raising the children and minding the old. There is a bitter turn inside it. Researchers who study these households find that many of these women who now hold up everything still have little control over the very money they earn or receive. They carry the labor and the worry, and someone else holds the purse. Remember who these women are. They are the wives who got the 3 words on the screen. They are the girls taken from the road. They are the second wives the state never signed for, and they are quietly the axle the whole country turns on, the part no one photographs and no economy measures. We're about halfway through. Of everything you've seen of Tajikistan so far, which part surprised you the most? Tell me in the comments. Because the weight on these households does not come only from missing men. Some of it is written into law by a government that reaches all the way into your closet. Here is the paradox at the center of this country. Tajikistan is almost entirely Muslim, around 97 to 98% of its people. And it is the state itself that fights the veil. In June, 2024, the president signed a law number 2048 banning clothing judged foreign to the national culture. In plain terms, that means the hijab. The fines are not small, roughly $740 for an ordinary person, and up to about $5,400 for a business in a country where a good monthly wage is only a few hundred. It does not stop at women. Police have been recorded stopping men at checkpoints, blank to forcibly shave off heavy beards, reading a long beard as a possible sign of dangerous belief. The state even holes reaches into the cradle. Since 2016, it has discouraged holes, Arabic-sounding names, and banned religious titles, nudging parents to name their children instead from the Shane, the